Guys and girls, welcome back to the Greenlight. First off, guys, I want to thank all of you that have been watching my videos, commenting, subscribing, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it, guys. I'm a small channel and any interaction really helps. I truly enjoy doing this and connecting with you guys. I'm truly passionate about this game because it's the most fun I've had in a game, the most immersed I've been in a game in a long time. So I'm really happy that I'm able to play and share my experiences with you guys and share news with you guys and everything, and I hope you continue to watch and grow with me, grow with the Greenlight. Now, that being said, I quite possibly have the greatest build in the game for healers. No, I'm not level 60, but you only have 3 abilities, so I mean, this is as good as it gets. I'm going to show you guys my full theoretical build, which I'm following right now. But first, I want to talk a little bit about my armor selection. This build is suited for pretty much everything. You can solo, you can group, you can PvP with this build. So for all my solo players out there, you're exploring the world of Aeternum on your own, you can't die with this build. You can never die. And I'm going to show you guys some clips of me just rocking it out with this build. I mean, it's so fun because you don't have to really worry about anything. I was literally fighting like level 33s as a level 28, which, you know, it isn't such a huge gap, but I mean, in this game, primarily as a healer, being able to fight those different creatures in mass, it's truly remarkable. I think you guys will have a lot of fun with this, especially you healers at heart. With this build, I like it because it's heavily healing focused, but you also get some damage in, so it's a bit of a hybrid, and you pretty much can't die. The only way you can die is if you really screw up, or you have like 10-15 monsters on you at one time or something like that, and even then you can still probably survive. So I want to start with the armor. So my armor choice is medium. One, because you still get the 10% weapon damage or healing bonus with the medium armor. The advantages of the light armor are you get the dodge roll, and you also get the 20% bonus damage or bonus healing when you equip light armor. What I don't like about light armor is, one, when you're playing a healer, you have no CC abilities. And so when somebody closes the gap on you in PvP, or even in PvE, when you have monsters, maybe you catch some aggro, you have monsters coming up on you, you want to be able to control that situation, scoot a little bit back, and be able to continue to heal as you need to. So you're going to want to have a little bit of CC. The dodge roll does help with that, but what I prefer is to just have a little bit more armor, a little bit more CC. So this helps with our secondary weapon, which is the Warhammer. Now, obviously, we're going to get into the abilities that I've chosen, but I wanted to preface this by telling you guys why I picked the medium armor instead of the light armor. And I picked the medium armor instead of the heavy armor because, yes, the heavy armor does deliver more CC bonus. You also get more physical and elemental armor, but the trade-off for that dodge, you can barely even call it a dodge, honestly. Yes, it does dodge some attacks, but it's just not enough. As a healer, you really need to be able to move a little bit more than that, and you're a little bit slower, I feel like, too. It's a little bit sluggish. So medium fits in this perfect space where you get the best of both worlds, and you're a hybrid at heart anyway. We're running Lifestaff Warhammer, so we're a hybrid. We need that mobility and we need that security as well. Medium armor just works best for this build. So first, on the healing side, we have to go Absolved. There's no way you can run a healer build without Absolved. It's just standard, right? So Lifestaff's light and heavy attack no longer take mana. Self-explanatory. You do a light or heavy attack, it takes no mana. It's beautiful. Then we go with the Blissful Touch. Light attacks now heal target for 20% weapon damage when passing through an ally. This is very nice because, as you can see, we're not taking any of those single target heals. We're not taking Divine Embrace. We're not taking Light's Embrace. Why? Because in a PvP setting, such as wars, large scale PvP, even smaller scale PvP, you can kind of just get away with not having a single target healing spell. And one thing I don't really like about Divine Embrace is how long it takes to channel. I feel like it takes just a tad bit too long to channel, and the payoff, you know, maybe if you go down the whole tree, the payoff would be worth it. But like I said, in a large scale PvP setting, even in a smaller scale one, you just get more out of the other abilities that you have at your disposal. Moving on, go ahead and go with Sacred Ground. Creates an area on the ground that lasts for 15 seconds and heals 20% weapon damage every second. I have gone back and forth with Sacred Ground and Light's Embrace and Divine Embrace, and you have to have Sacred Ground. I felt like as a healer, and I know all you healers that play healers in every single MMO, you know what I mean? You have to have the strongest heals. And when you don't take Sacred Ground, you feel like you're naked. You feel like you're missing out. You feel like you're not a real healer. This is a must have as a healer. This is what makes you pretty much unkillable when stacked up with these other abilities that we're going to talk about. This Sacred Ground really just takes your game to the next level, especially when you go down the tree. So when we go down this tree, we have Holy Ground. Regenerate stamina and mana 100% faster while in Sacred Ground. Obviously, self-explanatory. Regenerating stamina and mana, obviously that's huge. You could just sit in Holy Ground and spam. You can put Holy Ground on somebody else and spam. You can do so many things with the Holy Ground passive. It's just pretty amazing. And this one's even better for group settings. I know all you solo players out there, you're still gonna have to group up when you want to go into these dungeons, and that's why you should go ahead and get Blessed. While allies are in Sacred Ground, they are healed for 50% more from all healing. So obviously we already have Blissful Touch. That means they're getting 50% more healing from Blissful Touch, right? So they're already getting 20% from Blissful Touch. That means another 10% on top of that. That's a 30% Blissful Touch now that we're talking about. And when we get into the other buffs that we're gonna have on Protector, we can see that percentage go even higher. Moving on with some of the other passives that we're taking down the healing tree, we have Desperate Speed. When you heal an ally with less than 50% health, life staff abilities cooldowns are reduced by 10%. Sometimes when you're in those dungeons or when you're doing PvP, whatever you're doing, you're gonna have an ally that drops below 50%. It's just gonna happen. And when this happens, that's a huge reduction in cooldown. Sacred Ground's cooldown is 20 seconds, and we haven't gone over to the Protector side just yet, but the Beacon's cooldown is actually 35 seconds. So any time that you can chip off of that is pretty huge, because you can kind of stagger between Sacred Ground and Beacon, and that's how you can remain unkillable. Sometimes you do want to throw them both down at once, but if you can get away with staggering them so that while one is on cooldown, you can use the other and you can keep switching them out like that, that's probably the better way to go. But if you really need to, you can throw them both down at once. Desperate Speed is a really nice passive to have when you do get desperate, just like the name says. So next we have Revitalize. When you hit with a light attack, reduce all your cooldowns by 5%. I light attack a lot, obviously, because we have Blissful Touch, which heals our target with our light attacks. Let's say I'm doing a dungeon. I like to try to stay in the back and try to hit as many of my party as I can with this Blissful Touch with the light attack. And I try to also hit one of the enemies with that light attack. So all the while I'm healing my team and I'm reducing my cooldowns. If any of my party members get less than 50% and I'm healing them with any of these other healing abilities, then all of a sudden my cooldowns are going down, and I'm able to spam Orb of Protection, or I'm able to spam Sacred Ground. I'm able to spam Beacon once again, keeping all the healing just going and going and going. Next up, we have Enchanted Justice. When hit in battle, activate a healing aura for you and nearby friends in a 4-meter radius, healing for 10% weapon damage each second for 6 seconds. This is a nice little passive to have. You inevitably will most likely get hit while in battle, whether it's PvE or PvP. Most of the time, you're not gonna be in that much trouble. So it's nice to just take that hit and automatically, bam, start healing everyone in a 4-meter radius. Sometimes you're in a situation where maybe you pull some aggro, you're in the back line, right? Maybe you have a bowman next to you, someone using a musket next to you, so they're in the back line with you, and then they start pulling the aggro and they start getting hit, and they're squishy, so they start taking some damage. You're focused on healing the tank that's taking the most damage. You kind of want to continue to focus on that while healing these other guys, and this is what Enchanted Justice kind of gives you the opportunity to do. Now, the last passive we're going to take on the healing tree will be Intensify. Heavy attacks give you increased healing by 10% for 10 seconds. And this actually stacks 3 times. This is actually pretty huge. We're talking about 30% increase in healing. So you can see how all these passives are stacking up, right? 30% increase in healing from Intensify if you stack it up 3 times, matched with the 50% from all healing if they're standing inside of the sacred ground with the blessed passive. And then if you're just spamming light attacks right after you do your 3 heavy attacks, then all of a sudden you'll be healing for damn near about 40% on every light attack. So just 3 light attacks would be giving you almost 120% healing, and we haven't even gotten into the passives of the Protector. Okay, so the first 2 things I want to tackle here on the Protector side is 1, this passive Protector's Touch. Life stats light and heavy grant 15% fortify for 3 seconds when hitting an enemy. This is pretty huge because when you match it up with the Protector Strength passive, which is if you have a buff, heal for 10% more. We just talked about all the passive buffs we're getting already on the healing tree, but when you match this up with Protector Strength, now you have 10% more healing, and you're always gonna have that fortify. All you have to do is hit one enemy and bam, you have the fortify, along with the other ways that you'll see that we'll be able to get fortify or be able to get buffs on ourselves anyway. This is very nice, so you can assure that you're always going to have some type of buff on yourself, so you'll always be able to take this Protector Strength passive and have it active for pretty much the entire time that you're fighting. Moving forward, we have Orb of Protection. Shoot out a light projectile that grants 10% fortify for 20 seconds, heals an ally for 10% of weapon damage, and deals 146% weapon damage when it hits an enemy. Fortify reduces incoming damage. I mainly took this because I like to be able to do damage with my life staff, and this is one of the only abilities that can accomplish that goal. Orb of Protection, along with Beacon, shoot out a light projectile that deals 146% weapon damage to enemies, attaches to its target, and heals all nearby allies for 20% weapon damage each second for 10 seconds. So Orb of Protection and Beacon are the only 2 abilities that you have with the life staff that can deal damage. So what I like to do when I'm soloing, when I'm I have to go kill X monsters or whatever, I'll usually start out with a heavy attack with an orb follow-up, and then a heavy attack with a beacon follow-up, and already half of their health is already gone, or it depends on what level the creatures are that I'm fighting. Other times, if I have to, I'll go ahead and take out my Warhammer and go to town if need be. So our next passive here on the Orb of Protection is Protector's Blessing. If Orb of Protection hits an ally, they gain recovery for 10 seconds. Recovery heals for 7.5% weapon damage every second. So this is a nice little passive heal that you can just stack on top of everything else you're doing for your party members. And when you stack it up with the other passives on Orb of Protection's tree, you get even more benefits. So Shared Protection. If you successfully heal an ally with Orb of Protection, you also gain Fortify and Recovery. And I need to mention that all your Fortifies stack. So even if you're getting Fortify, which we'll see from the Warhammer, it will stack with your Fortify from Orb of Protection. It will stack with your Fortify from Protector's Touch. It'll stack with your Fortify from another ability that we'll see on the Warhammer. I believe the Warhammer has at least 2 abilities that you can get Fortify from as well. So all these Fortify stack together to make you a lot more tanky and better able to take incoming damage. Aegis. When this projectile hits, it affects all allies within a 3-meter radius. Aegis kind of just makes it easier for you to get Orb of Protection on all of your allies. I don't think it's 100% necessary. I might be switching to something else. I'm not even this far down Orb of Protection's tree just yet because I don't feel like I necessarily need Aegis. If you line it up good enough, it'll pass through your allies and they'll gain the Fortify, they'll gain the Recovery. If they're clumped together and you hit them all with the Orb of Protection without this Aegis passive, they'll still get it. So this is not too useful. I might switch this up in the future, but for now, this is just what I have, just to make it a little bit easier in those times that not everyone's clumped up. I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but it's still nice to have. Now, going down Beacon's tree, we have Infuse Light. Beacon's area of effect is now 50% larger. Self-explanatory here. This is huge. You have to get this if you're gonna go Beacon, or else it's it's not as useful at all. You got to get this with Beacon. It just makes it like 100% more powerful, even though it's only 50% larger. Now, Radiance's Blessing. Beacon lasts 5 seconds longer. Self-explanatory. You have to get it. Why wouldn't you want Beacon to last 5 seconds longer? That effectively kills 5 seconds off of the 35-second cooldown, making it effectively 30 seconds. So, I mean, that just makes it even more powerful. And when stacked with all of the cooldown reductions that we already have, it makes Beacon even more powerful. Now, what I'm thinking about doing is switching out Aegis, maybe for Speed of Light. When Beacon heals a target, it also applies 20% haste for 3 seconds. Haste increases movement speed. The only reason I didn't initially put this on my theoretical full build is just because of the fact that, let's say I'm soloing and I throw Beacon on a monster, right? At that point, whenever I do that, I'm going to switch to Hammer and I'm going to start going to town, right? So what's the point in having haste when I want to stick on the character? Or let's say I throw Beacon on a big monster or something like that in a party. What's the point in having haste when I want to stick on that monster? Now, Beacon can also attach to allies. So if you throw Beacon on an ally, then that gives that ally 20% haste, and it can give everyone in close proximity to that ally 20% haste. So you could use it as a maneuvering tool in a war. Let's say you're trying to run around and get through a side door or something like that. This could really come in handy. You could throw Beacon on the allies and y'all can all gain that haste and move quicker. So I could see that being very useful. Matter of fact, I might just switch this right now, to be honest. Like I actually like the Speed of Light now that I'm thinking about it, guys. So Speed of Light might be the choice here. And that's what's so special about this game, guys, is you can variate your build so many different ways to fit your playstyle, to fit your specific niche, to fit how you want to truly play the game and how you want to enjoy the game. And that's the beauty of this game. And I love that we have that flexibility in all of these different builds that are just slightly different. Mix and match and see what works for you. And obviously some of this is theoretical because I'm only level 28 right now, so I haven't really gotten all the way down the tree. This is why it's theoretical for me right now. And so the last passive that we have in the Protector tree is Glowing Focus. Buffs you grant last 20 seconds longer. So the reason I would go with something like this is to just assure that I'm always going to have my buffs on me, so I'm always going to have my Fortify from Protector's Touch. So I'm always going to have that 10% bonus healing. I'm always going to have my Fortify from Orb of Protection, which gives me my 10% bonus healing. So I'm always going to be buffed, and my buffs on my allies will be 20% longer. So they're always going to stay buffed like 24/7. That's why I would take Glowing Focus. Now, just to mention, guys, I know there are these 2 ultimates down here at the bottom. Obviously, they're not active ultimates, they're passive ultimates. And I want to explain to you guys why I wouldn't take any of these ultimates. Obviously on the Protector's tree, we're not taking Light's Embrace, so there's no point in taking this Magnify ultimate passive, which is when you heal with Light's Embrace, extend life staff buffs by 2 seconds. I'm already doing this, I'm already going to be buffed the entire time, so it's just like, this is kind of useless, So I just don't think this is strong. I don't think the Light's Embrace tree is really strong at all. It just doesn't do enough, especially when we're talking about large scale wars or even Outpost Rush. Whenever we get to level 60 and we're doing the 20v20s, I just feel like it doesn't do enough, As for the ultimate passive on the healing tree, Divine Blessing, when you heal an ally, if their health is below 50%, heal for 30% more. This is pretty nice, especially if you stack it up with, all the other passives that give you more bonus healing. There's just so much we already have. There's so much healing we already have that this might not be the best choice, but it is actually a pretty good choice now that I'm thinking about it right now. Let's say if we take out Aegis, and we would need something else in this tree in order to get Divine Blessing. So theoretically, maybe we would go something like this passive here, which is while holding a life staff, increase the base health of all friendlies in your group by 10%. So obviously this doesn't help you when you're soloing, but just as a means to get to this Divine Blessing, maybe it could be good. Or maybe you might want to go with Mending Touch, which is life stats heavy attack now removes 1 debuff when passing through an ally. Maybe you can go with this one. Maybe this is more useful for you. I mean, obviously still it's not solo friendly, but this might be a pretty good deal actually in PvE or PvP as a passive to just get to the Divine Blessing. So guys, that's pretty much it for the life staff part of things. On the next part of things, guys, I'm going to show you how the Warhammer can really complement the life staff.